Steve Largent owns the finest pair of hands in football.
Everybody always would say, well, keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on the ball. What I would say is keep your eye on the tip of the ball. That became my mantra, narrowing the focus of your concentration.
Chrebet is magic. And it's complete for the touchdown. Chrebet, the rookie from Boomer. He grew up in Garfield, New Jersey, 10 minutes from Giant Stadium.
But short of a first down, Chrebet was able to work free. What a move by Wayne Chrebet.
Absolutely unbelievable. You're talking about a kid who is just all heart.
Welcome to the Underdog Jets podcast with Wayne Chrebet and Robbie Sabo. Welcome back, Jets fans, to the 11th edition of the Underdog Jets podcast with Wayne Chrebet. We are here on this Monday in one of the dead periods, I guess we can call it. Yes, I know the NFL, there's no dead periods technically, but, you know, sometimes you could say that and get away with it. Wayne, what's going on?
Oh, all good, man. Episode 11. We just did episode 10. I think it went great. And episode 11, like I said, I get into a little bit of a list of the top 50 short-handed receivers, which I'm on the list, which I'm grateful for. I know people love lists, so ready to get into, you know, some of the players I played with at receiver and then that list.
Yeah, and that list too. It's a Bleacher Report article. They used an off-the-field image of you, huh?
Yeah, actually was when I lit up the Empire State Building green. One day when they were in the playoffs. Actually, it's weird because I'm in the lobby and I'm doing it like where I'm pulling down and lighting up the thing, but we did it in the daytime. So actually I filmed it during the day and then they showed it at night when they lit it up. Little trickery, but it was great to do that they chose me to do that.
You must have felt like Letterman or Leno, right?
It was weird, but hey, listen, that's the benefits of being a former player and being well liked, that they get you to do things like that still.
Absolutely. And the Underdog Jets podcast, I believe, is brought to you by Bet Online. The month of June is heating up with a ton of exciting sports action, and Bet Online is where you can find it. From basketball and hockey playoffs to baseball's marquee matchups, including prop bets and futures, Bet Online has all the latest odds, news, and information for all your online sports betting needs. Visit the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Folks, that's a new user bonus. Take advantage. It's tough to lose in those situations. So before the next tip-off, face-off, or pitch, head over to BetOnline and start playing today. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. And yeah, Wayne, as you said, we're going to talk a little nostalgia today, a little history. I was thinking about the all-time New York Jets football team. If you were to come up with a 53-man roster, the Jets organization, social media team did it for the 100th anniversary of the NFL, and the fans voted on it. You were there with Al Toon, with Maynard, and with Wesley Walker. Those were the four receivers who made it. I've done a couple of these myself, writing them. It's pretty similar to that result with a few changes. But when thinking about it, you really realize that the receiver group in Jets history is a strong one. Yeah.
Listen, when the list came out and they told me that I was on it, I figured, Wesley, Maynard, and Toon, they're the top three. There's no arguing that. I don't put myself in the top three. And the fact they did a fourth receiver and included me was, truly honored. It was great. It's kind of thrown back by it because they could have went with two running backs. They went with only Curtis. And I felt that Freeman should have made it as a second running back. So the fact they went with four receivers, is one of those things that's not believable to be included with that list. And I posted a picture on social media when we got announced at the game, and it's me joking around with Maynard and Namath. And I posted, I'm like, how's this possible that I'm just shooting the shit with these guys and joking around with them in front of 60? I mean, it just makes no sense. But just to be on the list and out there in the field with those guys, man, it's just crazy how things worked out.
Yeah, it's like it's a run and shoot offense the way they did it. I said 53 before. I'm the nut who takes it to a 53-man roster, with reserves. This 100th anniversary fan vote was pretty much a starting lineup. So It's like a run and shoot look with the 4 receivers and then Curtis in the backfield.
Yeah, it was only like 22 guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, starting 22, like I said, just to be on the list. I was in my glory, man, hanging with those guys. Those guys are great. They got the best stories.
It's interesting. Maynard, he's clearly number 1, right?
Right.
Walker, I think because of the stats he compiled, what he did in the 80s, he's probably clearly number 2. You put yourself behind Tune, but there is an argument to put yourself ahead of Tune. It's close, but there is one.
Statistically, it's close, but he played less years. But as far as overall talent, I mean, he made some Pro Bowls. I never made a Pro Bowl, but just as is it, and it's not just statistically, it's just importance to the franchise. And I just feel like, I came on and off the field and, maybe I didn't have more catches, but maybe my catches were a little more meaningful as far as all the third down conversions and all that stuff. And, big time plays and big time situations. But Altoon was a tremendous receiver. It's a shame that his career got cut short so soon. Yeah,
my dad was heartbroken when he retired because that was his favorite player. And he's one of those guys where what could have been,
Yeah. And I've met him. He doesn't come around much. He doesn't do many of the, legend stuff, in the Zoom calls, all that stuff. But I did meet him one night and we exchanged jerseys, and it was pretty cool because we both signed jerseys at the same time. And we both wrote the same exact thing. But, to Wayne, you're the best. Al2, and I put 2 out. You're the best, Wayne Chrebet. So I got it. I got it, and it's I treasure it.
Absolutely. And even after the top 4, I mean, the list continues. Lavernius Coles, he's right there. George Sauer, he's right there. It keeps going. Kochery, Rob Moore, Keyshawn, Art Powell. I mean, it's a really deep group.
Yeah, it was. And then you got Mickey Shuler, tight end. I'm not sure who the second tight end would be, but Mickey Shuler had a hell of a career. And it's funny, some of these guys I never met before, and just to see Mickey, and I was just like, that's Mickey Shuler. I was like, that's pretty cool. But the guy was so humble, just happy to be there because some of these guys never come around. They don't come to games anymore. They're not involved. I mean, so it was a great meeting him. He's a super guy.
I remember Mickey. I don't know if it was Mickey or someone else, but I think it was Mickey. One of the more famous Lawrence Taylor highlight clips of him just talking trash, just angry at a Jets player in preseason. And I think it was Mickey who got him that ticked off. Just something that popped in my head, which is of note, I guess.
Yeah, he was killing Mickey on the video. I saw something like that.
Was that Mickey?
But LT, he had a blocked LT. That's not fair. But LT had that effect on a lot of people.
Yeah. No, LT, he was mad at him too for some. Mickey must have got the better of him because he was just angry.
Right.
But Jets all-time team. Its receivers are really deep, which gets us into some of your favorites of all time. Sure-handed guys. You put a list together of 5 of your favorites. And we start with Don Maynard, who we touched on.
Right.
A throwback. I mean, he did it for so long. Started with the Giants, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a Jet through and through, or finished with the Giants. So I'll have to double check that. He's a Jet through and through, and he's just one of the greats.
Yeah. I gotta include my favorite Jet in the list. Obviously, he did it in a time when passing was kind of just coming around. It wasn't like the big thing. So running NFL was the run. And then I like the fact that the guy never wore gloves. They didn't even have gloves back then. So and I love meeting the guy and talking to the guy. I've taken pictures with him every year when we meet up at the Green Jacket event. The Ring of Honor thing. Like I said, these old guys have the best stories. So when I looked at the list, he's not actually number 28 on the list. He should be a lot higher, but he's one of the first guys I thought of.
They put him 28 on the Bleacher Report list.
Yeah.
That's interesting. He played 1 year with the Giants before going to the Jets organization with the Titans. So he was there from the start in 1960.
And you look at the list, some of the guys starting from 50 down, the older guys like Cliff Branch, Todd Christensen, some of the Charlie Hennigan, some of the old Drew Hill, Dwight Clark. I mean, he's got the catch. Bobby Mitchell, Stanley Morgan, looking at Kellen Winslow, a lot of tight ends, Tony Gonzalez, the Marks brothers, Mark Duper, Mark Clayton, let's say Charlie Joyner. There's some great, that's the top, that's from 25 to 50. Those are some of the names that were. Wes Welker had a great career. Andre Johnson, McCaffrey, another great player.
Sterling Sharp.
Sterling Sharp's in there. Derek Mason, underrated. I don't think he gets enough credit. A lot of tight ends on this group, but that's basically the bottom 25 of it. So, Maynard's 28. Like I said, he's in there, but he should definitely be higher.
What kind of guy is Maynard off the field? He strikes me as a very laid back person.
Yeah. He lives in the country, man. He's the old school. He's just calm and collective and cool. He's out there with his old Jets lid on. The thing's got to be from the 60s, man. But he's just casual, play cool. Like I said, I love seeing him every year. Yeah,
an old Crosbyton, Texas boy.
Yeah, he always wears his cowboy hat and stuff like that. So, I got a chance to meet, his brother and some of his family. And, they're always grateful that, to be around. But, we're so lucky to have him to come to these events still, because I know, he hasn't been in the best of health, but he's hanging in there.
Other names, I guess, under 25. Let's see.
Well, I'm 25.
You're 25.
Which is awesome. But 24 is one of my favorites of all time, who I grew up watching.
He's part of your top 5.
Kind of modeled my game after, and that's Andre Reed. Everything about him I love. He's just a tough guy, and just everything about him. He had great hands, great routes. So just to be on the list near him it was crazy. But he's one of my top 5 too.
Cuts down, D2 player, so he had to earn it. He had to really earn it.
Yeah. And
with Jim Kelly and the K-Gun.
And he played in Buffalo up in that crappy weather for, 10, 12 years. That's, not easy playing up there, half your home games every year.
No, it's not. So, Reed was great. And he played a long time too, 16 years.
Yeah. He had a hell of a career.
Other players on that top 25. Keyshawn is number 23.
Keyshawn's 23.
Keyshawn's 23.
Old school guy, Paul Warfield, 22. 21, Keenan McCardle. That's another guy. I don't know. I don't know if he was drafted, but late, and he had gone to a couple teams before he kind of broke out with Jimmy Smith
in Jacksonville.
Actually, Jimmy Smith is number 11.
McCardle was with Cleveland, drafted in the 12th round. So they were still going past 7 rounds in 91.
Yeah. And he was practice squad and then didn't really make it. And he went to Jacksonville, I guess was Brunell, and him and Jimmy Smith kind of like put that franchise on the map. I think they were there when it first started. So those are on the list. And 20, Marvin Harrison, which is a tremendous player. Great hands. I remember him more on the deep routes and slant. He didn't run many intermediate routes, but he could do it all. Like I said, Mark Clayton, Mark Duper was 34. And number 18, he's one of my top 5, which is Art Monk. He just had some kind of career. He played a long time too. And I think he actually ended his career on the Jets, right?
Correct. I believe so. Him and Ronnie Lott came over in those early 90 teams. He ended with Philly in 95, but he played 94 with the Jets, but he only played 4 games or 3 games with Philly.
Right. Well, that's the thing. When I was coming out in 95, I looked at the receiver core and where, my choice was to go to the Jets because Art left, Rob Moore was traded, and then there was nobody else there that really had any experience. So Art Monk, definitely, him leaving was definitely a consideration on why I wanted to go play for the Jets.
Yeah, it's interesting. You don't think about that too often because the 94 receiving group looked loaded. And then suddenly when you get there, I mean, Art Monk and Rob Moore are gone. You know, I forgot that they traded Rob Moore actually to, I think it was Arizona.
Yeah, to Arizona.
But yeah, that's pretty interesting. After Art Monk, who comes next? Isaac Bruce is there as well.
We got Isaac Bruce at 17, but you got Torrey Holt at 29. So you just look at that receiving core they had. And they had Ricky Prohl when they had the Kurt Warner team. So if you look at, you know, top three trios of all time on teams, I think they're definitely one of the top trios that there's been. I like to say that me, Santana, and Laverniers are on that list, but you know, those guys definitely were.
Ricky Prohl shampoo was Chris Berman's nickname.
Yeah. So definitely another guy patterned my game after. So then you got Randy, John Stolworth. You know, Stolworth is at 15 and Lynn Swann is at 4. That's another tandem that won a bunch of Super Bowls together. And I mean, back then, they're how graceful, you know, more deep routes and stuff like that. Statistically, they don't have the amount of catches that you would think, but just the amount of championships and the plays they made put them on the list.
And their plays hurt more too. Like it hurt the defense so much more.
Yeah. And just how graceful, man, they're gliding through the year. And then, Randy Moss is 16, you know, what can you say? He's one of the most dynamic receivers there ever was, you know, tons of catches. But number 14 is one of my on the list, 14 and 13. 14 is Fred Biletnikoff, which was pretty cool because when we played the Raiders, when he was coaching there, the receiver coach, and I kind of talked to him before the game, and I thought that was pretty cool. But if you remember the videos of him with the stickum on his socks.
Yes.
You know, he didn't wear gloves, but he had that stickum on his hands. But that's just an old school guy, hard-nosed guy that I appreciated just getting a chance to meet to him and talk to him. So he's on my top 5.
What do you think about the stickum? Again, one of my dad's all-time favorite players, Biletnikoff. What do you think about the stickum? A big deal or much to do about nothing?
In the baseball?
No, the stickum for Biletnikoff in the hand. You know, it popped up when the whole Brady stuff was happening with Deflategate and that conversation.
I was going to say real quick on the baseball, the guy stripped down. They checked Max Scherzer in the middle of an inning for foreign substances. And he took his belt off, pulled his pants down, took his hat off. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's actually safer for batters if these guys do use some source of stickum. They'll be throwing 100 miles per hour. I mean, it's spin rate and all that stuff. But as far as Biletnikoff for the stickum, it wasn't illegal back then. They helped out. You could have a tacky towel. I mean, he was just more obvious about it. But, what are you going to do? Those gloves are sticky enough as it is. It's kind of having sticky stuff on them anyway.
Yeah, the stickum from back then are nothing compared to the gloves today.
Yeah. So, and so the other guy on my list is 13, which is Steve Largent. And I was looking at his stats. They showed he had 100 touchdowns and 14,000 yards. I mean, he doubled my stats. I know he played longer than me, but to have those stats playing, I mean, who was his quarterback? Jim Zorn all those years? Who else?
Probably most of the time Zorn, yeah.
Yeah, but just to see the statistic he has, especially when he left the game, he was on top with top 5 with all of them. I know people have. So, but other than that, though, you got – Chad Ocho, Lofton, Herman Moore, Tim Brown, another guy, just tremendous hands. He always taped his fingers up with tape. He didn't really wear gloves. Raymond Berry, classic. Don Hudson, classic. And then the last 3 are, questionable. I don't know who you think's the best, but Lance Allworth was tremendous. Bambi, wasn't that his nickname?
Yes.
And then you got Jerry Rice, number 2, and Chris Carter, number 1. Jerry Rice is the best receiver of all time. I think you put him number 1 on any list you ever talk about. But Chris Carter probably has the best and most one-handed catches you'd ever see. So, those guys are 1A and 1B. So, it's just great to be on a list like that,
Yeah, 25, not bad. And I think I agree. You have to put Rice 1. I mean, right. You have to. I'm cool with Chris Carter 2nd. Allworth during his time, I think is good at 3. Lynn Swann, hell of a receiver. But in terms of sure-handedness, I don't know about 4. Definitely top 5's fine, top 10. Right. It's tough to argue with the list. All these guys are just ridiculously talented, ridiculously tremendous, sure-handed.
You know, another guy is 38. Like I said, there's a lot of tight ends at the top of the list. Antonio Gates. I don't think I've ever seen him drop a pass. And basically he catches 5, 10-yard routes in traffic.
Yeah.
Every touchdown, every catch he has. But if you look now, you know, this list is from a couple of years ago, and it doesn't put anybody on that is active. I would have to say that Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins are definitely top 10, if not top 5, to be on this list when they're done playing.
Yeah, those two for sure. Devontae Adams is getting close.
Yeah, he's got great. I think Andre Hopkins, I think I won a year 1 year. I don't think I had without having a catchable ball that was a drop. But Andre Hopkins, just his catch rate. I mean, he's catching like 90%, 95% of the passes thrown to him. Right. Not that are catchable passes that are thrown to him.
Yeah, that's absurd.
I mean, it's scary the kind of hands these guys have. So they'll definitely be on the list.
And that's the thing too. Hopkins and Adams, they both have great hands, but their route running is also tremendous. And Julio too. Julio's got to be thrown in there as well. Julio Jones.
Yeah. Like I said, not, different kind of routes than some of these guys are on, these deeper routes and, 50-50 balls coming down with those. But, Larry does it all. He's across the middle. He's down the seam. He's, in the slants. So, he might be number one by the end of it all.
And I can't emphasize enough how different the game was even 20 years ago compared to today, with the rules where they really started to enforce the contact with the DBs post 2005, 2006. From that point forward, 2007, 2008, you really started to see the points go up and the receptions go up. It was a different world for receivers and quarterbacks back then.
Yeah, it's an offensive game. The league makes it so offenses should, get the upper hand just based on the rules on where you can hit guys and where you can't, and defenseless receivers and, no contact past 5 yards. So definitely, aim towards an offensive passing game and all that stuff. So these guys who did it back then, they earned it, man. You're getting beat up a lot at the line, 10, 15 yards downfield. You got guys like, Lester Hayes and Mel Blount out there, when these guys were playing, it just would, hold you on the line of scrimmage. You couldn't even move. So for these guys to have those statistics, back in the 80s, 70s, I mean, to be on this list is crazy. Like I said, at number 25.
Yeah. And for those Jets defensive football fans out there who, don't like Bill Belichick too much, it was kind of Bill Belichick who really accelerated the current era with his Pats defense, Ty Law, and all those guys in the DB who really manhandled Harrison and Wayne in the playoffs, frustrated Peyton Manning. I remember that in like 2003, 2004 as really the starting point that changed the game.
Yeah, the thing about Ty Law is I rank him one of the top 5 I played with. Something about him, his hands were so heavy, you couldn't get him off you once he was on you. And he used the sideline to his advantage, kind of like a second defender. So, yeah, those defenses that he produced there in New England were tough to play against.
I'll put you on the spot. Any cornerbacks that you hated to face more than others?
Woodson, the Woodson guys, Rod Woodson and Charles Woodson, just tough, smart guys, studied you on film. Aeneas Williams was great. Tyler was, a problem, but, there's a lot of guys I got a chance to play, twice a year against the Dolphin guy, Madison, Surtain, those guys. But the toughest problem I ever had, and he was at the end of his career, was just Rod Woodson when he was with the Ravens and the Raiders. I enjoyed the competition playing against them, but sometimes they got better with me than I did of them.
And Rod Woodson's crazy because he could play every position in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, he could do it all. By the end of his career, he's doing everything. And he was, punt returner. He's one of the top players that ever played in the league.
Yep, Steelers, corner, safety with the Raiders. He pretty much did it all. And Charles Woodson, too, played a little safety. Something about Woodson,
Yeah, well, it's a good transition at the end of your career to basically go play safety. If you lose a step or something like that, you're smart enough to play still, and that's what all those guys have been doing.
I always thought Revis would have been a good candidate to transition to safety because he could tackle and he had the brain for the game. It just never materialized, I guess.
Yeah. Well, He's pretty good throughout his career. So I think he did something right.
Oh, yeah. Episode 11, wrapping up. Wayne, good chat today, talking about the receivers, talking a little Jets history. The receiver position is loaded, as we touched on. We'll have to hit on other positions moving forward. Any final thoughts?
Oh, great episode. I just want to give people an idea of, who I admired growing up and who I still admire today. Like I said, this pretty cool Bleacher Report, thing they put out to be on the list. I was going through it, the 50s and the 40s. I was like, all right, that's where I would be if I was going to be on it. It would have been cool. And then I saw 25 and I was like, all right, thank you very much. I appreciate just being on the list, let alone being 25.
As always, the Underdog Jets podcast is presented by Bet Online. Go to the website, check it out, get 50% off your first free bet. Jets fans, we'll catch you next time for episode 12.